Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition of the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 19 years of profiling IT mission programs in the federal government. This is our 12th annual Profiles and Excellence program, which will be coming to you from the virtual studios of WTOP and the Federal News Network. I'm Luke McCormack, and during today's show, we will discuss IT programs, success stories at numerous government agencies, and hear from the key leaders making them happen. With me on today's show are Venus Goodwine, U.S. Air Force Chief Information Officer, Dr. Adele Merritt, Intelligence Community Chief Information Officer, Jane Rathman, Department of Navy Chief Information Officer, Melinda Rogers, Department of Justice Chief Information Officer, Maggie Halbach, Senior Vice President, Public Sector at Verizon, and Nick Saki, Principal Technologist, U.S. Federal Pure Storage. Venus, we're going to start with you. It's been a heck of a year. You've been over there in that role as the CIO for a little over a year. Let's look back at 2024. Tell us what it's been like. Give us a state of the state. Brag about all the great things that you all have been doing over there at the U.S. Air Force.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Luke, Tom, and the entire team, and good morning to my fellow panelists. This is an exciting time. Anytime I get the opportunity to talk about the great work of the Office of the CIO and the work I do with my counterparts, it is definitely an exciting time. But I will tell you, one of the major things I'd like to tell you that in the Department of the Air Force, I am lucky now to be the CIO for the Air Force and the Space Force. You know, we are now one department, two services, like my Navy counterpart, Jane.
Love the Space Force.
Absolutely, our airmen and guardians. And I will tell you, one of the things we've talked about was how do we give our airmen and guardians more time back on mission. And one way to do that is through our enterprise IT as a service contract. We embarked upon that effort. One, we wanted to deliver world-class IT and separate commodity IT from mission IT so that our airmen and guardians could focus on their mission IT. And then we would contract out that commodity IT to a vendor that is their core business. And so they could bring to us those industry best practices, but also allow us, again, to maximize our dollars. In a constrained environment of both resources and funding, it was important, again, that our airmen and guardians could do mission work and that we could maximize our funding by eliminating, duplicative capabilities, duplicative services, modernize our IT. And even one of the big things that comes out of our ITAS, as we call it, is the consolidation of a help desk. And so we have a 10-year agreement that's going to deliver 6 core services. And as of today, now that we're in that contract for a year now, across 91 of our 180 installations, 260,000 of our more than 600,000 airmen and guardians, we're rocking and rolling with this contract. And just some success stories already, not only just because we've gone across multiple installations, more than half of our installations, our call answer times, our stats are good. 13 seconds for a call, 10 seconds for call handling, 70% satisfaction rate. And those are the type of results we expected from ITAS. We started out doing a risk reduction effort so that we knew that we could get it right with the strategy. And now that we have awarded that contract and we're executing those services, we can definitely see the difference now so that our airmen and guardian, again, as I stated, can be focused on mission work. But there's also a cybersecurity component to this as well, because this contract also delivers for us a standard desktop configuration, which allows us to defend our network with our assets because we know where they are and we know exactly how they're configured. And so when we have to make changes, it's not as cumbersome as it would be when you have multiple versions of a configuration. But also that modernization of our network devices is key as well, and our end user devices, because now I know for sure that I have the latest and the greatest that my airmen get to use as well, which feeds right into our user experience as well. So when you think of all those things together, it allows me to manage the portfolio in which I'm responsible for. It allows me to deliver the world-class IT service that my airmen and guardians expect, but it also gets after after what the secretary and top leadership expects from our Office of the CIO, and that is to be ready for great power competition.
Yeah, it's interesting that fine grained instrumentation there to really measure the results of the technology that you're delivering. And sometimes it's not Star Wars and satellites, it's basic, hey, I need the airmen to have a good experience when they have a problem and get it fixed quickly so they're back in operation. Let's talk about priorities for the following year, right? I know you've got a basket full like every CIO does, but let's talk maybe about the top one or two that you're really going to focus on and make sure get done into 2025.
Yes. And so if you remember earlier this year, the Secretary of the Air Force and top leaders introduced an initiative we called Reoptimizing for Great Power Competition in alignment with the National Defense Strategy, National Security Strategy, highlighting that we need to focus on being ready for our acute threat. And we've always said that that is the PRC. And in order to do that, there are 4 lines of effort that we've been focusing on: developing people, generating readiness, delivering capabilities, and projecting power. And my role in that as the CIO, first of all, developing people, is making sure that we have skilled, trained workforce. Not only am I the CIO, I'm also the functional authority responsible for the day-to-day management of over 12,000 civilians that contribute to the mission. And I have a military counterpart, Lieutenant General Lauterbach. She does the same for our military personnel. And so us together have put together strategies to make sure that we give the right skills and the right tools to our airmen and guardians. And one thing you saw out of that was the reintroduction of warrant officers to the Air Force. The Space Force, no, but Air Force. And so as of tomorrow, our first cohort will graduate at Maxwell, and we will have our first 30 warrant officers in the United States Air Force. And we're excited about that because the particular skill set is cyber and IT. And so that focus on not only cybersecurity, cyberspace, but also focus on your data and also your warfighter communications. Another piece of that is being able to project power, and that is from any installation. So ensuring that our critical infrastructure is not only secure, but it's also available, and that we maintain the integrity of those capabilities for our airmen and guardians. And another one is developing capabilities. As a CIO, I established the enterprise architecture, but also set standards to ensure that integration and interoperability works together when we have multiple mission areas developing solutions. And so we laid those standards. So you'll see that we've established some new organizations within the Department of the Air Force in order to get after that. And then lastly, generating readiness. Again, it's not only the readiness of the people, but it's also the readiness of the technology. So my focus is to continue those efforts on the Great Power Competition. And of course, I cannot leave the stage without saying the 2 most favorite words: artificial intelligence. I will continue to focus on that this year. Not only we've been doing AI in the Air Force and autonomy for a while, but now as we move to AI-enabled autonomy, how do we do that in a responsible way? But also, how do I use generative AI as a means to help with some productivity with my airmen and guardians? And so using large language models, we implemented generative AI, our NIPR GPT, and it's an experiment for us in order to understand which use cases work best with which large language models. And so we've asked our airmen and guardians to get accounts, ask questions, log in. And so we're working with our vendor partners to make sure we can capture that and understand which large language model works best, but also understanding the total cost of ownership when you're going to implement generative AI, rather that's compute, rather that's the skills you need, and how do we think about those in a more strategic way. And so those are the things, and I'll continue to focus on implementing zero trust, meeting the strategic guidance provided by the DoD CIO, the target level and the advanced level as well for zero trust. And that helps us to modernize our network and protect at the data level being data centric and less network centric. And so those are the things that I'll be focusing on. And always, as you know, Luke, the bottom of all of that, the foundation is our people, creating ways that we can identify, recruit, retain, our talent within the Air Force and Space Force, and that includes both our military and our civilian counterparts. And so we have a busy year ahead of us, and those are the things that I'll be focused on.
It sounds like it. I'd like to think that you've got a line around the building for recruitment as far as people wanting to join the Air Force and the Space Force. Daunting task, level of sophistication with the AI in that autonomous environment, and good catch on just the basics, right? Hey, it's the technology's great, but if it's not available, then it doesn't work. So really do appreciate the top line of priorities. Let's go to Dr. Merritt and talk about the intelligence community. The area of responsibility that you have just makes my head explode. It's absolutely daunting, and we really appreciate everything that you're doing over there. Give us a sort of a look back over 2024 and the accomplishments there.
Thank you for the opportunity to join some other distinguished CIOs to discuss what we did in 2024. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about how the Office of the ICCIO, the CIOs from across the intelligence community, and our colleagues at ODNI came together to make it a banner year. In 2024, the ICCIO's office had its eyes on the future. We were looking at technological and mission landscape. We know to stay ahead of the threats and the vulnerabilities, you need a plan, you need a great workforce, motivated partners, and a robust digital foundation. And so that's why in May, DNI Haynes signed out the vision for the IC's information environment and information technology roadmap. So the roadmap, it's a unified vision for the investments the intelligence community must make to deliver unmatched decision advantage during a time of unprecedented technological change. The roadmap identifies 5 priority focus areas where we need the investment the most. And so why did we develop this now? When you look at the world, there's a growing complexity in a global security environment that demands that we must maintain our agility and be resilient with our IT infrastructure. We need to ensure that every dollar we spend has a clear plan to maximize our ability to protect our national security. The IC's IT roadmap has provided a clear direction on how we can build and maintain an information environment that's secure, innovative, it's capable of adopting while we have unpredictable changes ahead of us. So with that in mind, we got to work. We put together the roadmap through extensive collaboration across the intelligence community and with close partners who are experts in cloud computing, cybersecurity, data management, artificial intelligence. We considered current capabilities and challenges, and we anticipated future developments and advancements such as artificial intelligence and quantum computing. So today I'm proud to say that we built a roadmap. It's available on the ODNI website that will guide us through bold and transformational investments to make sure that we're ready for the future, we stay ahead of threats, and we capitalize on the rapidly emerging technologies. So who are the critical partners when we put together this roadmap? I'm grateful for more than 100 technical leaders within the intelligence community and the private sector who helped develop and review the recommendations. Their contributions and insights were critical, and the experience changed how I look at the people who are in the intelligence community's information environment. For the past few years, we've always talked about the digital C-suite. These are the CIOs, the CISOs, and the CDOs. But as we look towards the future, the C-suite has grown into a digital village and now includes chief artificial intelligence officers, officers who specialize in protecting civil liberties, privacy, and transparency. These are the folks who make sure that we conduct our mission in a manner that aligns to our national values. It also includes research, science and technology and innovation teams who are now part of the core infrastructure as we continue to rapidly advance and bring in new technologies. Also includes general counsel, chief financial officers, human capital officers, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility officers. All the voices matter, and listening to the digital village was vital to our success. So we did an extensive industry scan. We looked at 1,000 technological developments that we anticipate in the next 2, 3, 5, 10-year horizon. We had an outside panel of experts come in and validate that the roadmap is on track. One of the important aspects of the roadmap is it is a living document, and we do plan on updating it every year. There is one other accomplishment that I'd like to highlight, and that is with our cloud service providers. On the classified fabrics, all of our cloud service providers have now reached the authority to operate and the initial operating capacity status. And so this is a great milestone for the intelligence community as we deploy the best cloud capabilities anywhere in the planet. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, can I just ask a question here? Are you saying that this document, as comprehensive as it is actually in the clear? It's not on the high side, or it's actually out on the website for anyone to view?
Luke, I'm proud to say that we developed the roadmap with the specific intent that it would be on our website. So it is an unclassified version. It was developed that way. It wasn't developed on the high side and then downgraded. And so it is available, and it does have mission vignettes. It has milestones and timelines.
Bravo. I mean, that is that's a masterpiece. And hats off for you all for doing that. All right, Jane, let's talk about 2024 at the Department of Navy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us, and thank you for letting me be a part of this esteemed panel. I very much enjoy working with many of the CIOs you have invited to this event and collaborating with them on all sorts of things. As you know, Department of Navy is just one of the military departments that makes up the joint ecosystem, along with the intelligence community in delivering warfighting effects across the globe. And so CIOs now more than ever, I think, play a very significant role in all of that. And so in reflecting on what 2024 was for the Department of Navy CIO, the big policy similar to Adele's output was our Information Superiority Vision 2.0. And this was an evolution of the first ISV, which was built in 2019, 2020, reflecting on what we had done there, where the focus was on modernize, innovate, and defend. And evolve, and recognizing that technology has changed and that we've learned a lot in those 4 years of working, and that we needed to evolve our focus, our strategy, our vision. And so the ISV 2.0 focuses on 3 pillars: optimize, secure, and decide, with supporting foundational activities in this concept of innovate across all of those pillars. And of course, as Venus had mentioned, the workforce and how important the workforce is. Our three pillars are reflective of, again, lessons learned. Our optimized pillar is really focused on delivering an integrated naval information environment. What we've discovered is enterprise and tactical are coming together. The technologies that are available to us allow us to take those commercial capabilities that we would normally have talked about only in the enterprise space and recognize their value in the tactical and the warfighting space. And so one of those areas, as an example, is our Office 365 Microsoft Azure stack. We have implemented that in something we call flank speed on the enterprise side, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. We're also experimenting with it on the ship, afloat, in a disconnected state. We're bringing cloud via HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure stacks, onto ships, and experimenting with continuing that experience that we get ashore afloat. We've put it on the Abraham Lincoln this last year, and they deployed with it, and it was a game changer for communications back to shore for that community. And that's just one example of how we want to optimize and how we really want to treat the IT infrastructure as a strategic asset that really supports warfighting readiness and business operations. The second pillar, secure, we are focused on evolving our way forward on cybersecurity, moving out of this concept of RMF and into this concept of cyber ready, earning the right to operate every day, managing the cyber lifecycle. We have also focused on, in that pillar, treating cybersecurity as a capability portfolio across the Department of Navy ecosystem, vice it being this afterthought that every program has to do something about. How can we deliver core capabilities that are applicable across programs? And then the last pillar, which used to be a supporting pillar, data. we elevated to and recognized, given all of the changes in technology and the onslaught of large language models into the ecosystem and the value that they bring, that data needs to be the center of the show, needs to be focused on. And in that pillar, we are focused on kind of 3 areas: 1, prepare; 2, connect; and 3, use. So on the prepare side, really getting after data management, getting after tagging and understanding provenance. On the connect side, part of the, in conjunction with the optimized pillar, working towards really making access to data ubiquitous, ensuring a good customer experience and operational resiliency, but being able to get that data where it needs to be, when it needs to be. That is our strategic objective still. That did not change from ISV 1.0 to 2.0. And then the last piece is this use piece. And that really encompasses all of AI. As Venus said, the Navy has also been utilizing AI techniques for many years. But what's different now is the proliferation of commercial technologies in the space and the large language modeling. And how do we really take advantage of that? We recognize the importance that can have both in the back office and at the warfront. And so how do we effectively do that? Taking lessons learned from our DevSecOps and cloud deployments. How do we do it in a controlled, safe, secure way that gives people degrees of freedom to learn, but doesn't proliferate 1,000 models, increase our cybersecurity footprint? And so that is our focus in and the use arena. When we look at how this is going to benefit the warfighter from a data perspective, today the warfighter at the tactical edge has to integrate data from multiple classified sources. How can we change that up with all of this great technology that's available to us and deliver to the tactical edge trained models that the warfighter can add data to and more quickly make decisions that give us the decision advantage? So that's the. Go ahead.
I love the idea that, it's IT as a strategic asset, almost as a strategic weapon, if you will. We really do appreciate it. And we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about 2024 and highlighting all the fantastic things that have happened over the year. Linda, we're going to go to you and talk about Department of Justice. You've been over there for a few years. You all are on a tear. Tell us what 2024 looked like.
Thank you, Luke. It's nice to see you again. For 2024, I would say without hesitation, my top accomplishment, or really the top accomplishment from the Office of the CIO, has been our overall A on the FITORA scorecard. And by A, it's not just
congratulations.
Thank you. It's not just in any one particular category, but it's the overall. And this is the first time the department has achieved that grade. And for those of you that are out there who are not living and breathing FITORA, which stands for the Federal Information Technology Acquisition Reform Act, this was a statute that was enacted in 2014 to improve and centralize the acquisition and management of IT assets across federal agencies. It's a comprehensive framework that spans across all departmental initiatives, not just IT programs. Luke, I highlighted this accomplishment because it is not just a reflection of a single year's work, but the reality is it's a culmination of all the work that we have done really over the past decade. It reflects commitment, persistence, and really hard work at the programmatic level, and we are extremely proud of it.
And not an easy thing to accomplish.
No, it is not an easy thing to accomplish. I hold my breath. I won't lie. Every 6 months or however frequently the scorecards come out, and it's always a discussion about certainly recognizing the achievements we've accomplished and also having a reflective moment on opportunities for improvement. And this past year was definitely that milestone that we are all very happy and proud about. I think the other important thing about the overall score is that it's a direct result of our enterprise-wide approach to IT modernization, not just focusing on specific bureaus, but again, DOJ at large, and also about how our governance process has worked well in our favor, not to mention a topic that is near and dear to my heart, cybersecurity. I would say over the past year, we've made significant gains in modernizing our IT systems to include cloud adoption and transitioning off GSA's legacy federal telecommunications and networking service networks contracts, which I know, Luke, you and I have talked about as well. I think the other element is CIO oversight of all department IT investments. That's an element that ensures greater transparency and accountability across the board. This task alone was not a small feat. My office reviewed, including myself, we reviewed over 100 just in the last 6 months. And it's not a once and done. It is a persistent effort. We keep going. And of course, as I mentioned, cyber, the score that factors into the cybersecurity maturity level under FISMA, that folds into actually another big accomplishment, something that I could not have done without my department's CISO, Vu Nguyen. Our current overall performance metric received a rating of 99.1%, and I dare say it's the highest among all federal agencies. I hesitate to brag, but I also can't resist but brag about that. It is something that we are.
It's a daunting accomplishment. Please do. That's why we have you on the show. Brag.
I know, but it's just something I am so incredibly proud of. And we definitely could not have done that without the dedicated individuals from within my immediate office, but most importantly, the collaboration and the cooperation from all the components within the Department of Justice. We have large ones like DEA, U.S. Marshals, FBI, and then we have litigating components such as Civil Division, Antitrust, Criminal Division. So it's really all these folks coming together, all of us focusing on many different elements and doing our best in each one of those areas. And I would leave you with, Luke, I tell my sons this as well. My sons are in high school. I said, listen, if mom can dig herself out of the gutter and get an A overall, you can too. So when they give me lip about how they can't do X, Y, and Z, I said, no, I've done it. And by the way, being graded is not limited to just your academic years. You continue to get graded throughout your career. So with that, I will close with those are my biggest accomplishment that I'm most proud of for 2024. And when I say my, it's really the Department of Justice's on behalf of IT. It's our FITARA scorecard of an overall A.
Wow. And I love the aspect of mom walking the talk as far as the CIO and catching that A in those various categories, and every panel member here. What a daunting area of responsibility that is so complex, and the things that you all are doing is just really, really impressive. Maggie, I'm going to roll over to you at Verizon. You have an opportunity to stripe across all these agencies and see all these various activities that are going on and all the accomplishments that are happening. I'd like you to just grab one or two of those, highlight, what did 2024 look like to Verizon, and where would you like to sort of spotlight some of those activities?
So, it's all about modernization. I think you've heard from Venus and Jane and Dr. Merritt and Melinda, the importance of staying on pace to deliver critical communication services at the speed of the warfighter, or at the speed of our public safety agencies, or being able to deliver information that's not network centric, it's data centric. So as you heard, Verizon is actively engaged with many of these agencies that we've just discussed in trying to work to accelerate that rapid modernization without creating undue stress, risk to any of the end users, to any constituents. And that really drives home the benefits that technology modernization is delivering to our constituents. So as an example, the DoD is in a state of eliminating a lot of technical debt. It's base infrastructure modernization. Venus talked about ITaaS as an uplift to the end user solutions. This provides high bandwidth, flexibility, and scalability, but it requires an elimination of a tremendous amount of legacy services. And Verizon is really proud of being able to do that work in coordination with the DoD and many other civilian agencies to ensure that, to Melinda's point, those FATARA scores are as high as they possibly can, that they are modernizing the infrastructure and they are moving to modern contracts like EIS and away from networks. We also have examples in crisis response. And I am incredibly proud of the work that Verizon Frontline has been doing in on-demand crisis response capabilities, not just in the emergency. We do that and we do that well, but we have been very actively engaged shoulder to shoulder with National Guards across the country, with DHS, with many others like Secret Service, to ensure that blue sky planning exercises fully integrate industry into these exercises. Verizon has a long-standing commitment to ensuring first responders have critical communications tools. And as we know from our PACE plans, you have to plan effectively during those calm events so that you can improve communications. You can ensure that you have the right roles and responsibilities engaged. One of the examples that I'll just share was in response to both the Chicago and Milwaukee aspects of supporting some of the national conventions. And we worked hand in glove with the Secret Service up in those markets to ensure very, very close interoperability between federal, state, and local agencies to ensure we were able to make those highly productive, highly collaborative events that really minimized risks to attendees or the candidates. So super excited about the progress that we have made this year. Another area that I'll just call out is the importance of migrating to cloud-based services. You cannot do that effectively on legacy technologies. And so again, committing to things like base infrastructure modernization, the elimination of time division multiplexing out of the network. This is old technology that really is standing in the way of several of the objectives that the CIOs you've just heard from today are attempting to achieve. Data-centered decision-making through AI. It cannot be done with legacy technical debt. Being able to have a more secure environment, the converging that Jane talked about of the mission space with the enterprise space, it cannot be done with technical debt. And so ensuring that there are programs that drive that technical debt out of the enterprise infrastructure really is how you get to a cloud-based, modern, AI-capable environment. And
absolutely, absolutely, and technical debt, very important, a very delicate balance about digging out of technical debt and then moving forward above the line, as I like to say. Speaking of which, Nick, let's talk about Pure Storage. When we focus on technical debt and sort of above the line, we start thinking about the data and the use of the data. Insert organizations and entities like Pure Storage, right? Taking us from sort of flat ground up to a higher order as far as capabilities. Give us a look at 2024 and what it looked like for Pure Storage.
Well, thank you, Luke. It's actually a delight to follow Maggie because obviously Verizon drives the network and we drive the data. It was a huge year for us. We began the year by launching our 75 terabyte direct flash modules and putting in the plumbing for consolidated cloud-wide fleet management of data services. We finished the year by launching our 150 terabyte direct flash modules. So to put that in perspective, this gives us the capacity to deliver 3 petabytes of data in a single 3U platform. and then orchestrate an entire data enterprise across private and public cloud capabilities. So the biggest thing we did this year actually was with Melinda. So we helped her re-architect the entire Executive Office of the U.S. Attorney's data architecture nationwide across 245 sites. So it is a tremendous transformation for every U.S. attorney, all the way out to the absolute smallest districts, all the way back to the core enterprise. So tremendous improvements in performance and end user experience, a tremendous improvement in cost efficiency of the data across the nation. But to put this into like cloud scale perspective, that entire architecture is managed, monitored, maintained, sustained, and secured from one location by a small team. So delivering the cloud experience both for on-premises data capability and off-premises data capability and linking them is probably the most significant accomplishment that we experienced in the past year supporting the federal government. Secondary items, we've continued to extend our lead both in conventional data services as well as advanced data services and artificial intelligence. We were selected by CoreWeave, which is the largest hyperscale artificial intelligence tailored capability in the country. And the second item that we announced yesterday was our data center design win with one of the top 4 hyperscalers in the country. So to dovetail on what Maggie was saying, you know, data is the most important thing in the data center. Data drives all of our decision making. Data drives everything that we do, and it's the entire reason why we've created advanced technology architectures to enable us to obtain maximum leverage over our data. And we're going to continue to focus on that relentlessly, and we are incredibly proud to have actually every single department and agency and company on this call as partners of ours and customers of ours, helping them wring the most out of their data services. And in the end, delivering a modernized data experience for all of their agencies and organizations.
That is outstanding to recognize that, and hats off to the work at DOJ and the low footprint as far as being able to run that environment.
Yeah,
Jane,
it was
I'm gonna
pretty
roll
cool.
over
No,
to
wait,
you.
I have to say one more thing, Luke. Melinda, thank
Sure.
you. Thank you for trusting us.
It's my pleasure, although I don't think I could take sole credit for that, or hardly that. Certainly, it's the great work of the IT professionals in our U.S. Attorney's Office that's been driving that. But I think storage, data, attorneys, volume of case information. So yes, I think, yes. Thank you, I should say, Nick.
Our pleasure.
Jane, how about over at Chief Information Officer's area in regards to the Navy's capability for priorities going forward into 2025? You outlined a tremendous amount of activity that you had going on in 2024. You're on a tear. What does 2025 look like as far as your top priorities?
Thank you so much. First and foremost, anything supporting the Commandant and the CNO in their pursuit of being ready for a warfight in the Davidson window. The CNO calls that by 2027. And we are in support of making sure that we can put more players on the field. In terms of IT, how can IT support that? And in many ways they can. We are building off the success of our flank speed platform. That we have achieved 151 out of the 152 target and advanced activities in our platform from a zero trust perspective. And so we will continue and pursue zero trust across all of our ecosystems, core networks, and weapon systems. That'll be a big focus. Again, another big focus will be cyber ready. Really evolving again away from that RMF every 3-year process and living and breathing cybersecurity. We will continue to optimize our ecosystem. We've done a lot of getting cybersecurity to the edge. We've done a lot of testing and exercises with leveraging our commercial cybersecurity tools at the tactical edge for unmanned and things like that. And so we will continue to do that. Other big areas will be, implementing large language modeling capability for back office as well as warfighting tactical use cases. We will be building some sandboxes and doing similar things to what Venus had talked about, and just getting our sailors and our Marines and our civilians comfortable with the capability, learning from that, learning what that means from changing how we manage data and cybersecurity. And then our big focus on modernization is getting to that core platform. IT is a strategic asset, as we talked about before, and that is moving to enterprise services, getting out of the everybody doing the same thing in a different location, and moving to common services, particularly cloud services that can be commanded and controlled by our cyber operators. So we have insight and that give users the ability to move faster instead of having to build their own cloud landing zones, leveraging the cloud landing zone, for example, for each of the types of clouds we have. So really on that journey, there are about 13 or 14 North Stars and roadmaps associated with our ISV 2.0 that cover all of these areas. And I could not do this without the great support of all of our teams, our acquisition community, the Navy and Marine Corps. We drive and shape, and they do.
Fantastic. And it sounds like the job jar is completely full for 2025. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about what we're going to be talking about 2025 going forward. And let's start with Adele in the intelligence community. Top priority, 1 or 2 for you in 2025.
I have 4 priorities for the next year, and they closely align with the 5 focus areas. My first priority is architecting for the future. My second priority is I'm very focused on improving cybersecurity, because we know that cyber actors are getting better every day, and people are interested in breaking into our networks. So we need to continually improve our game in cybersecurity. My third area is empowering the workforce. Our workforce is our greatest asset. Without people, the technology we have is just a pile of expensive stuff. So we need people with the skills to make the best use of the amazing capabilities that we have at our disposal. We need to make sure that as we bring people into the intelligence community, they can interact with the technology we have. Since becoming the ICCIO 3 years ago, I have learned a lot on my journey on how to be a stronger advocate for accessibility within IT. I have found that there's no such thing as being mostly accessible. It either is or it isn't. Our tools must be accessible for those who need additional capabilities such as screen readers or closed captioning. And my fourth priority that I always focus on is partnerships, because we can't do this alone. It's an interconnected world. We rely on our partners, our allies who work side by side with us to confront a common adversary or overcome shared challenges, industry partners who bring in great capabilities, and our academic partners who make sure that we are growing the workforce of the future. So we need to do all of this in partnership. So as we enter 2025, Luke, I'm focused on architecting for the future, cybersecurity, people, and partners.
Love the laser focus, and we really do appreciate everything you're doing over there. Maggie, number 1 priority for Verizon in 2025.
Continuing to help our customers on their innovation journey. We have a lot of emerging technology happening right now, and Verizon is committed to that. Just a quick example, we announced earlier this year, Verizon Frontline, working in support of a research project with NOAA at the National Weather Service. And that partnership is to advance disaster response research. So it really comes across a variety of different things, such as utilizing uncrewed aircraft systems to help with preparing communities, things like advances in network technology for prioritization and preemption of traffic to ensure first responders get the best access to the technology. So Verizon understands that we have got to continue to use our commercial efforts to continue to help our public sector customers innovate and do it securely and safely, So research programs and innovation projects and pilots will continue to be at the forefront of our activities in 2025 as we prepare for the future.
Appreciate you unlocking all those capabilities for all these various agencies and departments. And Melinda, #1 priority for you at the Department of Justice 2025.
Identity management and centralizing it. I am
Wow.
hyper-focused about that. It is foundational. It's a foundational pillar of cybersecurity, knowing who is accessing your information systems beyond knowing what is in your information network. So identity management, and it's also a key pillar of our overall zero trust security strategy. Ultimately, identity management, it is not just a technical priority. It is so fundamental to protecting the integrity and security of the mission enabling services we provide. And by consolidating and unifying our identity management approach, we can ensure that our systems are more secure, scalable, and resilient, and ultimately providing a more seamless and efficient user experience, allowing our folks to focus on the mission, not the different ways to access the ubiquitous and complex technology they depend on.
Well, we know your awesome CISO is going to knock that one out. What's your #2 priority?
I would say commitment to optimizing the user experience. I love referencing these two examples. Luke, you might have heard me say this before. And by the way, I don't own stock in either one of these companies. Apple and Tesla, they have made the entire user experience and interacting with technology completely seamless and pleasant, and completely intuitive. And I want to make sure that whatever we do, services we deliver, upgrades, enhancements, et cetera, should be hyper-focused on enhancing that user experience, truly leveraging the power of technology to deliver superior services to our end users.
Good examples there. Nick, top priority for Pure Storage 2025.
Oh, thanks, Luke. So with us, it's always the drive towards improving the customer experience with better security, simplicity, improved scale, better sustainability and performance. So for next year, if you're detecting a pattern here, as I said, we went from 75 terabyte to 150 terabyte direct flash modules, putting petabytes in, microwave oven size spaces. We're going to do it again. So we're looking at 300 terabyte drives, sometimes towards the end of 2025, early 2026.
You're making my head
increasing
spin,
that
Nick.
density and efficiency. Well, hey, welcome to the 21st century of data. And so what do we have to do to help that? If we're delivering these huge kinds of capacities, and we have to couple that with, exactly as Melinda said, continuing to extend our advances in improved user experience. Time spent working on your technology is not time spent getting work done. All right. So how do we decouple or abstract away the management of the technology to enable the workforce to get more work done? We are not slaves to our technology. Technology is the slave to us. It's an enabling capability for human capacity, not the other way around. So we're going to keep doing that.
Right.
We've got a lot going on this coming year, a lot yet to be announced. But again, it's bigger, better, faster, more, while doing the near impossible. Let's deliver all of that technological advancement while improving environmental sustainability and cost sustainment, total life cycle ownership. These are what drive us. So
I love it.
It's going to be an exciting year.
And speaking of technology, Jane, I'm going to go back up to you at the Navy. I mean, there's a lot of activities, a lot of capabilities. Let's just talk about pure technology. Let's talk about maybe some technology that you're going to be implementing over the next 1 or 2 years. It's out of the Petri dish, but it's not in the ships yet. What are you looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of things. We have a horizon investment process where we talk about, what is the art of the possible? Always looking at the art of the possible. How do we experiment and pilot with those things, run structured challenges, et cetera, to drive outcomes? I think that we will, again, cloud and cloud in the warfighting context. How do we really optimize the utilization of that? Not a new technology, but using that technology in ways that have not been possible before, in part because we have the ability to use the proliferated low Earth orbit capabilities that were not available to us 5 or 6 years ago. And that opens up a whole set of opportunities for how we maneuver data to the tactical edge. And so technologies associated in those areas will be big. Again, how do we leverage large language modeling to be that workforce multiplier that Nick just talked about, that, you know, it needs to work for us, technology needs to work for us. And then really looking at the commercial space and how, you know, products that were not potentially designed for defense use, how could they be used for defense use? Everything's got to be focused on improving cybersecurity, as Adele said, and really just and repeating everything that everyone else said. It is about the customer experience and operational resilience for us. So whatever technology can do in those spaces for us, we are all in.
I love the reference of the dual use as well, and I think that's becoming more and more prevalent. So hats off to you and good luck with implementing that. I know you all will be very successful. Melinda, let's talk about a couple of technologies that you'll be rolling out over the course of the next couple of years.
There we go. There we go. All right. Gotcha. All right. In terms of technology, I would still go back to, this is sort of my favorite opening statement, which is, what problem are we trying to solve? Well,
Right on.
It's so easy to be drawn into the shiny new object, but at the end of the day, we have to come back to what mission issues are we trying to enable. And I think that ultimately helps us determine what the best course forward should be. In terms of technology, I would say our focus is on continuing to take the value out of the data and delivering that in terms of data analytics, results, information, actionable intelligence. That's been a focus area for me and my folks as well. And I know that certainly happens across the various program areas, across the large swath of the organization known as the Department of Justice. It's not necessarily brand or company or a vendor dependent, but ultimately it is about taking the rich assets that we already have access to and then extracting value out of that. Data, the zeros and ones, ultimately are not meaningful without the information technology that's going to power or drive them. So Luke, I would say I'm not necessarily hyper-focused on one solution per se, but ultimately it is about figuring out what problem we need to solve for and leveraging what we have access to, best value, and delivering and operationalizing on those services.
Oh, start with the customer and work your way back. I love it. Adele, how about at the intelligence community? I think about my time working with In-Q-Tel and others, and some of the stuff that comes out of the Petri dish gets implemented. A lot of fascinating technologies out there. What are you focused on? Give us a couple of examples of some technology that you'll be introducing over the next couple of years, or you know, are looking to introduce over the next couple of years.
We are focused on artificial intelligence with the release of the National Security Memorandum 25, NSM 25, on advancing the United States leadership in artificial intelligence. We have a clear direction. And so while the Chief AI Officer has most of the actions in NSM 25, I'm responsible for the digital foundation. And so I, as a CIO, when I hear AI, I'm focused on how do we advance our capabilities in storage, compute, and transport. Because to do AI, we need to process data. That's compute. We need to have data. That's storage. And we need to move data around between locations. That's transport. So if we have ambitions to harness all these amazing capabilities in AI, we need to supersize those capabilities. And investments and capabilities in the modern cloud infrastructure is going to help us do that. I'm also focused on how we enhance our integration and interoperability. So in October, we took a big step towards this when the Chief Data Officer, Lori Wade, and I co-signed the intelligence community's data reference architecture. The framework within the data reference architecture provides the intelligence community with the means to handle large volumes of data in a distributed environment while engineering for data quality, resiliency, trust, and compliance with the legal and ethical frameworks. Final part of our foundation that I'd like to mention is advanced cybersecurity. We are very focused on zero trust, making sure that we have a zero trust strategy, that we have a maturity model, that we are making progress on that journey to make sure that our networks are as safe and secure as possible.
That zero trust element so important to the whole aspect, and the fact that you're pulling together that digital framework and allowing that AI capability to happen across the IC is really amazing. So hats off to everything that you're doing there to unlock that capability across the entire IC. Hey, this has been a fantastic program, and we really do appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd also like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make this program so successful and enjoyable. Most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.